Hello to all you Patriots out there in podcast land, and welcome to episode 124 of Canadian Patriot Podcast, the number one live podcast in Canada. We're recording on Monday, March 19th, 2018.
Hi, I'm Gavin, a business owner, gun enthusiast, hunter, atheist, and CCFR field officer.
Hi, I'm Better Andrew. I'm a sports shooter in Southern Ontario.
I'm OG Andrew. I'm a recovering libertarian competitive shooter, firearms instructor at Ragnarok Tactical, and I hope you have your tinfoil on tight.
Marty, hunter and sports shooter in rural Southern Ontario.
I'm the BLT, also known as Bellicose Liberal Tim. I'm a bellicose liberal, a husband and father of three, short sports shooter, and owner and operator of Tim's Good T-shirts. I'm also the proud descendant of beer-drinking immigrants.
We'd love to hear your feedback about the show. Please visit CanadianPatriotPodcast.com/feedback or email us feedback@CanadianPatriotPodcast.com. Versions of the show are available on Stitcher and iTunes. Links are in the show notes.
Check out the podcast on Facebook.com/Canadian Patriot Podcast and Instagram at Instagram.com/Canadian Patriot Podcast.
We need your help to support the show. Visit www.patreon.com/CPP and become a Patreon. You can get the uncensored audio version of the show for just $1 per episode. And the more you pledge, the better the rewards are. To show you're not a communist, you can buy a CPP t-shirt for just $19.99 plus shipping and theft. Visit CanadianPatriotPodcast.com homepage and follow the link on the right. Always go to the right.
All right, before we do, what are we drinking? What Are We Drinking is brought to us every week by Arrowhead Coffee. Arrowhead Coffee is owned and operated by Canadian Armed Forces veterans. They love our country, the true North, strong and free, their family and friends. Join Arrowhead Coffee on their hunt for the perfect brew to raise morale and bring that feeling of home to you no matter where you are. A portion of all profits helps Canadian Armed Forces members, veterans, and their families. And I have it on good authority that Arrowhead Coffee will be at TACOM at the end of the month, and they will be completely out of coffee because I'll be buying it all. All right, let's go to Better Andrew. Still not sold on that name. What are you drinking?
Somersby.
Gavin, what are you drinking?
I am drinking a Bullet Bourbon and Coke Zero this evening.
Marty, what are you drinking?
Today's Crown Maple and Coke Zero.
Tim, what are you drinking? Tim's not drinking. Okay. Tim might be drinking Ricard's Red according to the show notes and or Frozen because he's not typing. I'm drinking Lamb Spiced Rum and Coke because I've run out of Coke Zero and I found Coke. Also, I ran out of rum, but then I found more.
You're going to be running on a sugar high.
Whatever. Worth it. I haven't slept in a while, so.
You're going to crash hard then. Nice.
It's fine. It's all good. Okay, let's get into the topics for the show. This is all guns all the time this week. All we're talking about is guns. Guns. If you don't like guns, you shouldn't be listening to this show because we're all about guns. I should have prepared something funnier because
is that guns with a Z at the end?
Said.
That's not a thing.
Have you guys seen that internet video with that dude that talks about going shooting with his white friends and like they bring guns with a Z? It's hilarious. If you haven't, you should check it out. It's really funny.
No, anyways. I want no part of this. All right, so the big thing for tonight, we're going to speculate wildly about what could possibly happen tomorrow in the House of Commons. Maybe our government will pass sensible laws. See, that's me speculating wildly about our government.
Maybe our man Bernier will finally have had enough of things and sort them out in fisticuffs.
That would be great.
I think that all government is a waste of taxpayer money.
Agreed.
Maybe someone will get elbowed in the tit again.
Oh, God, that would make it for good TV.
Yes. Especially if it ends up being Trudeau and that same chick. Because then she'd maybe have like grounds to say that it's harassment or something because it's happened twice now, so it's obviously not a mistake.
Pattern.
Yeah.
Ooh. So you're thinking he could get like a Like a workplace bullying investigation, just like Wendy Sukier did.
Yes. Or
We can only
something.
hope.
That'd be
Now,
amazing.
would you prefer that
That's
he
what I
elbowed
pictured
the same
is,
tit or the other tit?
The other one for good measure.
Yeah.
But either works really.
See, that's what I pictured when they were talking about how he was, going off on people in the Liberal caucus. I just assumed he was just running around elbowing people in the tit.
Probably was. He's practicing. He's getting warmed up.
All right, let's talk about what's going on in the news. We're going to speculate wildly. Gun control bill's supposed to be tabled tomorrow. Something. I think it's going to be a bill. I don't know. Something's going to happen tomorrow. I think it's coming from Goodell's office. I think it's in. Well, they have been riling the media up the last couple of days. This is all I read about all weekend. Is like there's going to be gun control and it's going to happen on Tuesday, and nobody knows what it is, but everybody's mad about it. Even the liberals are mad about it, which I find massively entertaining.
The liberals are mad at the liberals who are mad about it.
There are multiple levels of liberals being mad at liberals, which I think is just called a Monday in Ottawa.
Hell, I'm bellicose.
You are bellicose. Not gonna lie, looked that up earlier. Wasn't sure what you were talking about. So I guess let's start with the older news. Trudeau verbally attacked, air quotes, attacked Liberal MP in caucus meeting over gun control legislation. Obviously, there's nothing in. Where's my button? Oh God, there's a pop-up. How do I?
Oh no!
The media. No, that didn't. The media.
That did.
No. I don't know. My I can't make the CBC echo this week. My echo machine's broken. There we go. The media. Thanks, Marty.
No problem.
I guess my echo machine's broken. I don't know why I can't make it go. There's nothing in our mainstream media in Canada. I have to refer to the postmillennial.com, which is hardly a credible source for news, and Daily Caller, which, again, not convinced that that's a credible source for news, but that's where we are. So recently at a caucus...
That's kind of a rough one, too, because this is, like, it's a private caucus meeting where, like, they're not allowed to disclose what happened. So all of the, let's call it reporting on this is all from, like, anonymous sources type of thing.
Yeah, the anonymous sources thing. So the issue stems from Mr. Trudeau verbally attacked rookie Liberal MP TJ Harvey, chair of the Liberal Rural Caucus, during the February 28 National Caucus meeting on Parliament Hill. Harvey's an MP from New Brunswick. The reports, if we can call them that, the alleged sources have said that Harvey asked the question of why there was a, quote, lack of meaningful consultation with the caucus over the government's upcoming gun control legislation. So I can only assume that Trudeau freaked out and then Gerald Butts got involved and told everyone to stop being mean to his buddy.
Did he tell them to butt out?
Ooh.
You imagine he is far more witty than I give him credit for.
Can we legally
Remember,
say
this
is that trademark?
This is the person who said that anyone who argues with the Liberals is literally a Nazi.
Well, that's because they are. I mean,
Well, yeah, but I mean, that notwithstanding, I mean, that's not the point, is it?
yeah, I guess it's not creative if it's true, right?
Yeah.
So on the one side, it is funny to see the Liberals infighting. At the same time, like, when the Liberals are coming out and being like, ooh, I think we're going too far here, guys. It could be, it's a little bit disconcerting for us.
Definitely starting to get a little scared about what's going on with that.
Yeah.
I don't even think that's the case. I mean, this MP, I want to give the guy from New Brunswick credit that maybe he actually has the interests of his constituents at heart, because he's the head of the rural, like the liberal rural caucus. Like the liberals keep saying that the only guns that we should have, or the thing that they brought up during the election, I shouldn't say they keep saying it. The thing that they brought up was that you should only use a gun for hunting, and that's all you need it for. And, you know, we don't need semi-automatic full auto assault weapons. So it stands to reason that if this guy's from a rural riding in New Brunswick and he's the head of like the rural group, they would be the people that liberal hunters go to be like, no, don't ban my duck gun. I need that to shoot ducks. So maybe he's actually got his constituents' best interest at heart. Go ahead, Marty.
Well, I think he has his re-election at heart.
That's probably a valid point.
His constituents, because they're the ones that are going to make that happen. Yeah.
So do we want to start with what we let's quote know is going to be in this? You know, like there has been some things that like Goodale has, and as part of the Liberal platform, they said they were going to be doing. So there's certain things that we can at least expect to be in the bill tomorrow.
Well, before we even get into that, let's just talk about the guy you just mentioned, Ralph Goodale. Good,
terrible logger.
Good ale. That sounds happy. It doesn't sound like someone who's going to try to take all your goddamn guns. So that's disappointing.
I'm not sure if I missed a punchline or what just happened.
I'm just saying it's kind of like false advertising.
Yeah.
Allow me to give you this in return.
Justin Trudeau!
Trudeau.
Because that drop's always fun. Yeah,
That's the one thing when you listen to the the podcast version of the podcast, the actual audio version, is because you go through and like edit out all the awkward pauses. It's nowhere near as awkward when you listen to it back afterwards.
yes, I try to save our listeners from that.
But sometimes there's like a pause for effect, and that's just gone then, which is tragic.
That's why I always make little background noises. See, like that'll stay in. That's the joke I'm making.
I use the awkward pauses to adjust my tinfoil hat.
As well you should.
So yeah, if you hear crinkling noise, that's
mine's
him.
tight enough. Mine's tight enough. It doesn't need adjustment. Stays right where you put it. All right. So what are we getting? What do we know for sure? What are we getting?
We don't know anything for sure. I guess we should go through. I wanted to talk about the CBC article that was like super duper fear mongering, but somehow the CBC issued a correction, and I'm actually kind of impressed. They issued one correction late last night and another correction this morning. So the things that I wanted to beat on the CBC about, I have a lot less to beat on them about now.
Well, I guess that's because someone already beat you to it, right?
Well, yeah. So apparently the internet had a little bit of a shitstorm on the weekend because there were a lot of people posting on the CBC website and sending them Facebook and instant message and email notices that they were saying things that were patently false. So the CBC is talking about changes that could include enhanced background checks. And then they've completely removed the paragraph that I wanted to talk about where they were saying that you don't need to have a firearms license to buy firearms. But they've now clarified that the story's been edited, that an earlier version suggested incorrectly that proof of a firearms license is not required to purchase purchase a firearm in Canada. In fact, a valid possession and acquisition license is required for such purposes. The story has been edited to use the term non-restricted rather than unrestricted when referring to the type of firearm classification. So they actually changed a bunch more things in the story. But the thing that I wanted to beat on was that they were lying about how, or rather what's required to buy a gun legally in this country. I don't know that they've made it much clearer to the reader, but I really wanted to beat on the CBC for being like state propaganda about how anyone can just walk into any old Canadian Tire and walk out with a gun, and that's not how the law works. Like the current law, the law that we exist under presently.
Well, he's certainly not walking in there and getting an SKS anymore.
Yep, I went
I
to go
suppose
check
not.
that yesterday. They don't have it anymore.
So I guess we can go through some of the other news articles. There's one from CTV. I'll hit a couple of the big points. CTV article: Feds to table gun control bill next week will include measures to boost screening, according to sources. Oh, those sources. They're so knowledgeable. I love that, like, there's no government sources tell CTV's reporter that this bill doesn't matter. Bill will take aim at keeping firearms away from people with mental illnesses and out of the hands of those with violent backgrounds. I don't know if our listeners out there in podcast land have looked at the forms that you have to fill out when you apply for a firearms license recently, but I'm pretty sure those are already on it. So I'm not really sure what they're planning to expand.
Yeah, so having worked the Toronto Sportsman Show this past weekend for the CCFR, I mean, this was a hot topic, and some of this mental health stuff is kind of a concern because, like, how exactly are they going to do that? Because as you said, like, they already kind of ask you to, you know, willingly divulge the fact that you have a mental illness or a potential mental illness when you sign the form. So, you know, as a law-abiding person, you should fill that out, you know, honestly and correctly. And one of the gentlemen in the booth was saying that, you know, he filled it out, and as he's law-abiding, he put down that he has some anxiety issues. You know, he's not suicidal, nor is he homicidal in any way, shape, or form, but, you know, it asks if you have any mental illnesses or problems or something like that. And he was honest. That became a stumbling block for him, you know, and it delayed his renewal of his license because he had to go through an interview process and everything else, just because, you know, every now and again he gets a little anxious. But like I said, it's not violent.
I want to expand on something that you just said at the beginning of that about how if you were, you know, an honest law-abiding person filling out this form, it's not even if you're an honest law-abiding person. If you fill out a 5592, which is the application for a PAL in this country, the firearms license through the RCMP, there is an application that you have to sign under Section K, and it says it is an offense under Section 106 of the Firearms Act to knowingly make a false or misleading statement, either orally or in writing, or to knowingly fail to disclose relevant information for the purpose of obtaining a license. So if they find out that you're doing this, it's a chargeable offense because you have effectively lied on a government document.
Yeah,
Fill out the form correctly.
You know, if you're going to do that and then they're going to hassle you over something that clearly isn't an issue, that's going to really deter people from being honest on their forms.
Well, that's, I think, the whole point of the 5592 is to deter people, because, like, who wants to do a weekend course and then 8 more pages of paperwork where you give them your conjugal partners for the last 5 years and your personal history for the last 5 or more years.
Yeah.
And
so I agree with Gavin's point that, you know, that's one concern, is that it can, you know, dissuade people from being honest in the form. But my other concern is with socialized healthcare, is it going to deter people from seeking the help that they need?
Yeah,
I think it absolutely will. And I mean, anecdotally, I know it does.
Yeah,
I realize that's anecdotal, but
if it deters just
people,
one person.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the thing is I know people that have suffered from legitimate mental health issues who own firearms who failed to get the treatment they need because they were afraid that their hobby would be taken away from them. They're not dangerous people that should be barred the use of firearms, but they had legitimate, call them psychiatric needs, where they should have talked to somebody who would have been a healthcare professional in that field.
Yeah,
And
I mean,
occasionally somebody's like, you know, going through something, a death in the family or divorce or something like that. And, you know, just for a period of time, that, you know, they're just going through something, and depression or something like that, you know.
Yeah. But I mean, the other,
Gavin's example, even anxiety, like that counts as a disqualifiable reason.
Yeah. But the other scary thing is, though, is that, like, you know, okay, so how are they going to make this a more enhanced? Are you going to have to get your doctor to sign off on it? Well, what if you have absolutely nothing wrong with you, but your doctor is anti-gun?
Well, I would be worried that there are changes coming to the 5592. I expect that we're going to see a slightly different form or a slightly different set of requirements regarding the background that the RCMP Firearms Office does when they process your application.
Yeah, one of the other things, and this is a little bit of a wild speculation, is that people speaking with them are actually worried that, you know, they're going to have to submit, you know, authorization to the RCMP to be able to look at their medical records at any time they feel like. Kind of like how we have to do the, you know, background check daily to see if we've been arrested. But, you know, even to go so far as to say, like, have you even talked to a doctor about anything that has to do with your mental health? And that's scary.
I can see that. I can also see that being a problem because we have a massive healthcare shortage in this country. I don't have a local family physician. There are no doctors in the county in which I reside. We can't get one.
But yeah, I mean, like,
So,
it gets to that point. Like, it's like, even if you go to talk to a doctor to see if you have a mental health issue and you don't, like, if they're going to flag that or something, you know, like, it gets a pretty slippery slope here.
Yeah, it's very slippery.
You know, and
okay.
Yeah, it's just scary. Like, you know, they shouldn't have any access to any medical records, really.
No, certainly not. On to other items in the CTV article. They're expected to force gun shops and retailers to validate licenses before completing a purchase and keep the name of the gun buyer on file. This is, I'm sad to inform the Liberal government, something that's already required, but I applaud their efforts to increase public safety.
Yeah, you should write down that line and say it again for the next couple times.
So I did see something on this actually today in one of the articles. I think probably one of the ones we come across, and I think what they were trying to like differentiate is that today the records are kept, but they must seek a warrant to have access to that information. And
as well, they should. It's still a private business.
And now what they're putting through is that they have to track that information just like they do now, but it'll be accessible to them whenever they want.
So a gun registry.
I'm not positive, but I'm pretty sure you call that a gun registry.
Yeah.
Just that's what the difference is apparently over what we have today versus what's coming.
I mean, at least if they do it this way, it won't cost them $2 billion.
It'll cost them $4 billion.
No, like somebody's still got to pay for this, and who's going to pay for it? Like taxpayers. So this is still dumb.
Oh, I'm sure they'll just make the retailers pay for it.
That would not be a huge shock to me if they were to pass that cost along to the retailers. Which
you're going to need to have, some sort of gun business license thing that's going to be more expensive than the current one that you need.
This is angering. Coming legislation is to leave it to police. They mean the RCMP, to make the call on which currently restricted weapons should be put on the prohibition list. I question the authenticity of this statement since the Firearms Act specifies the technical characteristics that make a weapon restricted or prohibited. But nice of them to shuffle this responsibility off to the RCMP, who can't seem to classify anything that comes into this country. Oh, what's that? You'd like to have this gun classified? We'll get back to you in 5 to 10 years when we feel like it. Sorry, retailer, we just need 5 samples of this, and then you can sit on your inventory indefinitely.
But this thing that's been around forever, yeah, we're gonna just arbitrarily reclassify that overnight.
Arbitrarily reclassify. Yeah, those are going to be super. Like, this is a great idea. Let's give the RCMP Firearms Lab more authority to fuck with the firearms laws.
Yeah, this is going to come up again later.
Okay, so let me just adjust my tinfoil hat here, and this is one of the things that there's rumors on the if you go on the gun nuts. That the Liberals are going to ban certain firearms, they're going to ban semi-autos and that. This is the mechanism I think that they're going to take. I think that they're going to give the power to the RCMP and then let the RCMP ban things, because then they can hide behind the RCMP and say, well, it's the RCMP banning it. If you don't like it, vote them out.
No, you can't.
Right. The one advantage to that is when we have our next conservative government, it's very easy to undo the arbitrary reclassifications that the RCMP may impose, because the next conservative government can just be evaluate the firearms based on their technical merits as per the existing Firearms Act, and then classify them correctly. Stupid fucker on a horse.
Yeah, but how long did it take for them to do it the last time with the Swiss Arms and
A year.
CZ?
It took them a year.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's an easy or quick process, but at least this is an easy regulatory change to undo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so one of the concerns is that what it would do is it codifies in law the RCMP's power to reclassify, which right now doesn't exist.
Correct.
Yeah.
So that would need to be overturned before they can do anything. And the other thing is just that in order for, if it's the likely conservative that would be looking to do this, is that they still need somewhat of public support for it. And it's one of those things where, as we can see by a lot of these articles, like how ignorant the media is, and then the people that are consuming that media when it comes to our firearms laws and when it comes to the functionality of the firearms. And so it is a challenge for, a conservative government to get public support for doing this kind of stuff.
I see the point you're making, and I mean, really, this is if the conservatives want to get elected federally, this is the thing they need to do, is appeal to 2 million firearms owners, because if you can convince 2 million people to vote as a bloc, you can do whatever the fuck you feel like.
Yeah.
That's
also where we need to be.
8% of the country just wants us to all do this thing. Well, 8%, well, that's a lot of people. We should probably do that.
Yeah, sadly though, there's a lot of gun owners that are actually wanting more restrictions. I spoke to several of them on the weekend. Wanted to punch them in the face and call them cucks to their face as well, but I didn't, because I was polite.
Well,
because you were doing a
quote-unquote good thing coming about with this possible new gun bill is maybe they'll see that they're coming after their stuff too, and then they'll hopefully decide to change their mind on that.
Not until they start calling their sporterized Lee Enfield a sniper rifle.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Like, if they do it the way that we were just discussing, where they let the RCMP ban them on an individual case basis, they'll be selective in taking out, the XCR and the AR-15, and they'll take out specific black rifle type of stuff that's not going to piss off the FUDs.
Which is we need to find a way to get the casual firearms owners and once-a-year hunters to understand that this is a problem, that once they take all of my guns, eventually they're going to take all of their guns.
Well, yeah, so what's going to happen, like, when they ban all the handguns and cool, like, assault rifles and stuff like that, and the crime statistics haven't changed? Are they going to go, you know what, we're going to give everyone their ARs and their handguns back? Or are they going to try and go, gun crime is still happening, we need to ban more guns?
No, they're going to become England and bin a knife, save a life. Yeah. Or do like Australia. Yeah. Well, we banned all the semi-auto guns. We better ban all the lever action guns because they shoot too fast.
They're after the pump actions now too.
They're not going to use the stats and go, oh, this didn't do anything. They're going to go, we didn't do enough. That's what's going to happen. And then, all your single-shot, high-powered hunting rifles are going to get called sniper rifles, because they're dangerous and can kill somebody at 6 million kilometers away. So we better ban those too.
It's a lot of kilometers.
Well,
let's run down a couple of more items on their policy platforms. This is from the last federal election. First one's going to be to repeal changes made by the previous conservative government around the transportation of restricted and prohibited weapons without a permit. Again, I would like to point out to our news media that you cannot, in fact, do that. It is a crime to drive around without a permit and having guns in your vehicle. The exception to that is if you have an authorization to transport, that's a condition on your license, because it's having a piece of paper to drive around with guns in your vehicle is equally fucking stupid.
Yeah. Just as effective at stopping crime.
Oh, yeah. Well, hey, if I have a piece of paper or I have a condition and attached electronically to my license that says I'm allowed to go from my house to my gun range and back again, well, that's probably a pretty effective piece of paper. There's no way I could do anything else with it.
You know what would make it more effective? If you had a piece of paper and a plastic card.
Yeah, that would probably do it.
Don't forget the other piece of paper for the registration.
Yeah, you still got to keep your paper rag.
Yeah, two pieces of paper and a plastic card, man. That is going to save lives right there.
The next fantastic vague point on their list is requiring enhanced background checks for people seeking to buy a handgun or other restricted firearms. Still don't know what that means.
Yeah, what more are they going to do? Like, how much more invasive? Are you going to have to, like, pee in a cup or something? Like,
pee in a cup, bend over, submit all your passwords.
Yeah.
Ensuring people who want to buy a firearm show a validated license. You know, just like we do today.
Yeah. No, not that.
And finally, in their policy points, having a firearm seller keep records of gun inventory and sales. Again, something that we do today. So, allow me to bust out my tinfoil chapeau and let our listeners in on what I think is going to happen. Because I made some notes when I was doing my show prep. So we're going to make a soundbite, and we're going to call it Enhanced Background Checks. And it's going to be very vague and feel good, but I don't see it really being that much different unless they open up the 5592 to being some new form of access to your health records, which I don't think that they can do, but I am not positive of. Increased license scrutiny at time of issue, renewal, and for each purchase, which I think all that they're going to do is, again, make a soundbite and maybe do some additional paperwork to hold up getting your license and your renewal.
Yeah, because they already ask you why you're getting a restricted transferred into your name every time anyways.
Yeah, maybe they're going to make you get like 3 references instead of 2 and go back 10 years on the people you've been banging instead of 5.
Right, and that's what I think is they're just going to make more onerous paperwork, but I don't think there's really a lot more that they can ask on their paperwork because they're already incredibly invasive. The only thing they could add, and I don't know if they legally can add it, would be to give us a copy of your medical records. Then the return to authorization, like the paper copy of authorization transport, so you'll have to get something, maybe not paper, but maybe an electronic copy, call every time you want to go to the range, something nonsense like that. Because there was a point in time where we had to call every time you wanted to take a handgun to the range. Fortunately, it didn't last long, and they started issuing paper ATTs. But I could totally see them bringing something like that back, where they want to issue an authorization to transport on a case-by-case basis, like each time you go to the gun club.
The short terms only kind of thing.
I would
like short term only.
Friggin'
I'd call every day.
Yeah, I would call every day as well. And if it only worked for a certain amount of hours, I would call multiple times a day.
Yeah. Well, I would. I went to the gun club and I came back, and now I'm going to go to a different club now to meet up.
Sorry, I forgot something at home.
Yeah.
What sucks
about that? It's that the girls at the CFO's office are actually pretty awesome and on our side, and disagree with this stuff. That's because they don't want this work being dumped on them. They understand that it's useless. And
yeah,
I know, but I think the only way to do this is
when they're pissed off. When they're pissed off, their bosses don't give a shit.
No, but hopefully occasionally gripes do go up, right?
And I feel bad for the clerks in the CFO's office because I don't want to make their life hard because they're not trying to make my life hard. I have no personal animosity with the people that work in as clerks in the CFO's office. My issue is with the government and with the CFOs specifically. But if you're going to put this rule in, malicious compliance, I'm just going to, because at least then you're going to have the stack that your phone is always fucking busy. It's probably not going to do anything. The liberals aren't going to care, but at least we can say that the phone is always ringing. This is costing millions and millions of dollars. And it won't matter because the liberals spend millions and millions of dollars on lots of stupid shit. So this is just one more drop in the bucket.
I totally get the concept of malicious compliance. I'm just I'm failing to hear anything in the consequences of malicious compliance that is going to bother the liberals in any way.
No, it's not.
People can't get through, so they can transfer their guns, or they have to wait longer to transfer their guns. Yeah, and it's going to cost money that we don't care about spending. So I just don't hear anything that they're going to be upset about.
Yeah.
No, and that's the thing. I'm fully admitting that malicious compliance will not gain us anything, but at least we're following the law.
We'll feel better about it.
No, we won't. I'll still be sad. Okay, so big prediction time. if I'm completely wrong and the liberals jump the shark on this, they're banning the AR-15. I don't think that that's the likely outcome, but that's like the ultimate like F you to every Canadian gun owner.
Yeah, I mean they've already
just gonna
sort of
start
laid the
using
groundwork though, like with the way that they prohibit the the 80% and stuff like that. You know,
Hang on a second, Andrew. When are you going to be releasing the the audio file for this one?
Hopefully tomorrow, Tuesday, the 20th.
So why don't we release it in like around like noon, 1 o'clock? Then tonight we can just predict everything, and then you just edit out so that we sound really smart. Like,
yes,
we got everything right, guys.
Yeah,
we could do that, but I don't have that kind of free time.
Also, though, our track
So
record
we'll just,
is pretty good, unfortunately. So
yeah, we'll just predict every possible circumstance, and then you just like edit all the ones that we're wrong about. Yeah.
Or we could just make our actual predictions. So why don't we go around the table? You guys have heard my thoughts on what I think is likely, and also if they the ultimate stupid move. We'll just go left to right like we do when we drink. Andrew, what do you think they're going to do?
I mostly agree with the ones you did. I'd probably say they might add some extra retardation when it comes to your ATT. Like them being forced to mail it. There is no online and all just a really slow process. Basically taking Ontario's slow wait times with the CFO and everything and putting it on the federal level. So everyone has to wait months for transfers to go through. I do agree also with trying to get the healthcare info if they're legally able to do that. Yeah, and seeing how, at least according to the two articles, people getting, like the other liberals getting scared on how far they're going, definitely sort of hinting at the banning, or not banning, but moving semi-autos over to restricted or something like equally retarded to that. And yeah, possibly putting more items on the prohib list if they're going like full pants on head retarded.
yeah, I'm curious how, if they did all of a sudden shift all the semi-autos into restricted
and not give you prohibs if anything got pushed over into prohib.
Yeah, would that automatically that currently owns a semi would automatically get their RPOW? Because that could be an interesting.
No, I'd see them being like, "Fuck you, too bad." Like no grandfathering whatsoever. You have to go apply for your license. And if you don't have one, too bad. We're seizing your firearms.
Yeah.
I see them going all out with
to get
this,
your license.
and it's just.
Yeah. But I could see that happening. Yeah.
All right, Gavin, what are you predicting?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with all the things that you guys have said. I think that they would love to have permanent access to our medical records, but I think there will likely be a doctor sign off, to be honest, because that's not against your human rights or anything like that to get a doctor to sign off on your mental health or add that condition in there. Definitely think they're going to mess around with the ATTs and go back to a paper one or make it just that much more difficult so that a lot of people are just like, fuck it, I'm not doing it. The thing that are not so much banning the AR-15, which I mean people are still worried about. Like I said, they have laid the groundwork, but I think right off the bat they're going to maybe reverse the stuff that the conservatives did, and your 8.58s and your Swiss arms and all of that are going to go back on the prohib list because they're going to try and undo all the stuff that the conservatives did because the conservatives are literally Hitler.
Does that mean we're going to be able to challenge the exam again?
Nope.
Probably not. The least.
And your ATT, it's going to be good for any firearm registered to your address again, not just the ones addressed to you.
Well, they'll probably undo the stuff that we like and not undo this. Like,
oh, so yeah, I see. So when they tried to compromise and give up a little bit to get a little bit, they were okay with that because then they just take whatever they gave up as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Make everything worse. No compromise.
Yeah. They're going to adopt the NFA's motto with no compromise.
All right, Marty, what's your prediction?
Well, one thing I don't think we mentioned is the UN Arms Trade Treaty.
Ooh, yeah.
I think obviously that one's going to be there. The ATT, I'm going to say I'm going to go one step further. We're going to go to paper ATT, and it's going to be good for your club only. It's going to be good for yeah. It'll be good for your house to your one club, and then beyond that, you'll have to get short terms. That's my prediction on the ATT side of things.
It's a good prediction
think that
I can see that.
I think they're going to update the named firearms list. So I think that they're going to spin it as, in the 1995 we created the list of firearms that's restricted and prohibited by name, and since that time it's never been updated. It's never been maintained. These firearm manufacturers have been exploiting loopholes in the Firearms Act and creating firearms that should be restricted and prohibited and are getting non-restricted classifications. And so we need to update that list. And so I think there's going to be an initial round of firearms that get added to that list. AR-15, likely one of those.
That really triggers me.
I'm saying it intentionally. I'm saying it the way it's going to be shoved down the throats. I'm not.
I know. That really triggers me because the whole I can see your use of the language, and it's like, yeah, that's what'll be written in the CBC because they're looking for loopholes in the law. No, we're not fucking applying the technical merits the way the law is written. We're not using a scientific
not complying.
Yeah, we're not using the law the way that it was written. We're not being 100% compliant. We're looking for loophole. Yeah, fucking get out of my helicopter.
Stop making me so angry.
So then adding on to that, I believe that the RCMP, obviously they're going to be getting more power, as well as that list, I think, is going to be given to the RCMP to update and maintain that list as they see fit.
Yeah, I could see that.
I think, and magazines. I think they're going to be coming after magazines, and in some way they're going to be trying to enforce like a 5-round in everything, regardless of any of the.
But they already sort of are. Spoiler alert.
Just saying.
So
I think that's kind of.
We're just not going to have magazines anymore, is what I'm hearing. Magazines are just going to be banned,
more or less. But anyways, that's my my outlook on what's coming tomorrow. Let's tacked a few onto what you guys were already pissed off about.
Thanks, Marty. Now I wasn't already angry.
That's why we're all drinking here, right?
What do you think tap water is? It's a gay bomb, baby.
I was hoping that was just a gay bomb, but okay, that's fine. Let's use that poorly executed transition to talk about magazine prohibitions. We're gonna go into the news. First thing I got. I'm gonna try and do a read. Well, we're into different news.
All right.
We're not doing the main federal firearms prohibition stuff anymore. We're gonna actually do the news.
So my internet's been really.
There it is. What happened to your internet?
Wait.
My internet has been cutting in and out. I was wondering, did anyone bring up the SKS?
No, please talk to me about the SKSs. Also, did you give your predictions? I don't remember.
I was going to say, we missed Little Tim's predictions.
I like Marty's predictions, but I think that if...
is maybe the wrong word, but...
Yeah. Yes.
Agree strongly with.
Agree, yes. I see his predictions possibly becoming reality. I think also if you could maybe try to glean something from the whole Canadian Tire thing, that perhaps there could be some SKS shenanigans about, just due to their price, and the fact that they're basically an AK-47.
Dude, with a knife on it. With a knife on it.
With a bayonet. And
those things are as dangerous as butter knives.
There's something with the bayonet that scares the shit out of the left. It's ridiculous. It freaks them out.
It's not even sharp.
No, it isn't. Oh shit! So I'm thinking SKS due to price, and I think that was it Bork, that guy out in that shot the RCP out on the East Coast. They were actually listening to him in one of the interviews, and he was talking about, oh, you can do this, and you can make this gun fully automatic so easily. So it's just like, and they actually, the CBC wrote a goddamn article
not
about
cleaning
it.
your SKS.
Yeah, the CBC wrote a goddamn article about what this madman is saying. But anyway, so I think the SKS is, it's too readily available, and it's semi-automatic. And there's like a lot of them out there. I wouldn't be surprised if they went for that. But I mentioned that before, and I think it was Tyler said no. There's just too many of them. That's too much to grab at this time. So,
gotta set their sights high, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think if they're gonna go for, let's say if they're gonna go for the AR-15, I think that they'll try and tack something like that on as well, because it'll get lost in the noise.
That, or maybe the SKS will be their first attempt, right? Like, see how that goes.
Well, I think they might start with the AR-15 because at least they know where they all are, or at least most of them. Right.
Yeah.
Because anyone who bought it outside of the registry, and even during the registry, like, it was supposed to get destroyed, but who fucking knows? I see it hard, other than if they go for anyone who's got a license and trying to do like a check to try and find them all. I think like stopping import and that sort of stuff would be
okay. Well, let's talk about some LARPy bullshit then, because if we think they're coming after the guns that are registered on the restricted list, I got bad news for all the fucking FUDs out there. You're on the list too. You got a PAL. They know you have guns, or at least they can reasonably suspect you have guns. So if they want to disarm me, they're not stopping once they get my AR. They're coming for everything else after that. They'll start with your semi-auto duck gun or deer rifle, and then they're coming after all your high-powered sniper rifle. You know that Lee Enfield 303 with a scope on it? Yeah, kiss that shit goodbye too.
That's for all the FUDs that listen to this podcast.
All 0 of them.
They can see the mailed cassette version. They listen on that. So they're maybe like...
Did you just assume the cassette's gender?
Oh my god!
No, it goes in the federal mail system.
You mean the system?
Okay, I get you. Because I thought when it ends with "et," I don't know why you would assume it's male, but anyway. Smurfette.
It's like the kinsman and kinsmanettes.
Majorette, Smurfette.
Moving right along.
Hey, do that now. You got to do the top again, or do you want me to do it?
No, we're not doing that. We're talking about Bartons.
Oh wait, hold. So, is it Bayonets a female then?
Oh, no wonder I liked them so much. Why are they phallic?
Maybe that's why you liked them so much.
It's the current year. Yeah.
Shut up.
Okay, let's do this. Release from Barton's. Barton's Big Country posted a thing on their Facebook page. I will try to read. Valued customers, HexMag update. After nearly 2 months of working with the RCMP lab on design concerns with the 1030 HexMag, we finally reached a conclusion. The 10-round models with the internal limitation and shortened spring have been classified as prohibited devices in their current configuration. The RCMP have clarified that a rivet applied to the HexMag magazine casing, which prevents more than 5 cartridges to be contained in the magazine, would meet the requirements of the magazine regulations. We fully recognize that the 5-round limitation was not what our customers were paying for, so we have created a separate return policy specifically for those magazines and anyone not enthused about riveting their kit. Requests for returns will be accepted until April 13th. Because we're dealing with prohibited devices, we need to have a closing date whereby we have ample time to correct the problem. Any requests for returns can be directed to customer service at bartonsbigcountry.ca. Our customer service reps will begin compiling return requests immediately and begin replying with return packages on Monday, March 19th for anyone wishing to take advantage of that program. We sincerely apologize for the inconvenience that this has caused, and we will continue working diligently to rectify the situation. And well, I applaud Barton's efforts to correct this at what I can only assume is enormous cost to them, both in time and dollars. This is a bullshit ruling by the RCMP. These mags comply with the law. They are marked pistol. They are specifically designed to accept 10 rounds and work in a pistol. They are, in my interpretation, and I am not a lawyer, despite playing one on the internet, they meet the criteria to be a pistol magazine in this country, and they have been permanently designed and modified in such a way as to only accept 10 rounds of pistol ammunition. They don't have a full-length spring. They are permanently limited. This is a bullshit ruling by the Queen's Cowboys. Sorry, go ahead, Marty.
I was going to say, unfortunately, the RCMP did not give a reasoning behind why they've determined to prohibit, because that would be good to know. Like you, despite what people are saying, it is a different mold. People like the tube is custom manufactured to be used for this 10-round pistol magazine. The only thing that I can see that they probably got nailed on is them using the word carbine on the magazine, stamped in the magazine. I think that's probably what got them. Only thing I can think of that got them.
Yeah, they don't like things. They don't like. Yeah, they don't like words on the side of things. They also don't like Molin Labe, stuff like that. So.
Like because right now it says pistol carbine on the tubes, and so they just put LAR 15 or it was the AT 15 or whatever, something like that. It probably would have been fine because, like we said, they meet the definition for a pistol mag in every way possible. That's the only thing I can think that they're
created a new designation, because I mean the AR pistol technically is a pistol carbine.
Okay, so I actually talked to some people that are in the firearms industry and have spoken with this retailer and are a little bit more well-informed than I am. And the reasoning that was presented to me, and I don't know how accurate this is because it is secondhand information, but from people within the firearms industry that I trust, not people that buy guns, people that are actually distributors and wholesalers and retailers. The reasoning that was explained to me as to why the RCMP was able to successfully make this ruling is because there is nothing in the literature with the magazines to say that they were specifically designed for pistols, which the LAR 15 and AT 15 magazines have.
Pretty sure when I bought my MFT magazines, there was absolutely nothing inside of the thing. It just says I mean, I can grab one. There's one on my bench right here, but it just says that it's a 10-round pistol magazine.
But does it say LAR 15 stamped on it, or?
Oh, I can grab one right now. Like it'll take me a second here. There. Those are hex mags.
See that? All that noise that Gavin's making in the background, that means that the audio program won't cut it out when I edit. So the listeners will get to listen to all of that. Stop dropping things.
I'm trying to find magazines.
He gets them for the articles.
This is going to make some great content. I apologize to our listeners.
Got one.
Proceeds to knock over every loud item in the house.
It was buried under all of my other magazines.
That was very
kid, apparently.
Yeah. That was very rustling, Gavin.
Good.
I also run my brass tumbler while we do the show.
I was rustling through magazines. So it says on it, Pistol Magazine, Model Omni PLAR 15 XCRP 223 Rem-10 shot. That's what it says. There is nothing else on it.
Yeah, but those MFT mags, those are like, they're short, right? They're 10
correct.
Size.
Yeah, they're little short ones. So like, there's physically no more space in this to add more. But.
And that's why I think everything else has gotten a pass except for these ones, because these ones were the only full-size pistol magazines.
Doesn't matter. There's nowhere in the magazine laws that it says must be shorter than.
Yeah, I know, but these magazines
Just
follow
like our-
every single
just like
one of the
our-
laws, and yet
Just like
they're-
our pinned pistol mags are full size mags.
Yeah. Well, and I went through this the other day. So I've got a PMag here for those watching live, in my right hand, and I've got a hex mag allegedly in my left hand. Like, what's going to be easier to modify to hold 30 rounds in it? The PMag that I just take this rivet out of, or this hex mag that I'm going to need to find a larger spring and a base plate for?
Yeah. In which case, you are manufacturing a prohibited device.
Yes, but would I
as opposed
also
to
not be
modifying them, which
yeah?
is
Either way,
so
I
much
end
better
up
somehow.
yeah. Like either
Illegally
way,
making things is still illegally making things. This is a bullshit ruling.
Yeah, let's go right all the way and let's ban Schedule 40 pipe.
well, dude, you could make a
For
stun
all
gun with
the
that.
Sten gun makers out there.
Easy, guys.
Ooh.
We don't know what's coming tomorrow yet. We don't.
Yeah.
They have time. They have time to edit it.
Can we add in a new
Stun
prediction?
And
Home Depot now does the registry.
Yeah. So the
all right,
messed up.
let's-
Well, one last little tidbit for the Hexmag thing that makes it even more messed up is that, like, if you have the agency to rivet your own magazine, you're not allowed to, because that's a prohibited device, and you're not allowed to work on a prohibited device as an individual.
Yeah, it's like you can't rivet your flechettes. I know all you
Yeah.
flechette collectors out there.
Yeah.
So here's the other question: are we allowed to mail prohibited devices through the government postal service?
I'll get back to you in April when I get my shipping information from Barton's, because that's well, let's just say a lot of money that I could spend on a different thing for firearms, because I have lots of mags. I was really hoping to keep some hex mags that I allegedly purchased, but let's say I could allegedly spend that money on something allegedly different.
Anyone looking to get rid of their hex mags, just feel free to contact me, and I'd be happy to send them to Mike from Canmore for you.
All right, let's very briefly touch on something else. This has been in the news a lot lately. Rural homeowners trying to defend their property, particularly in the prairie provinces.
How dare they?
I know. That's just, why would you want to defend your property or your life or your livelihood or the lives of your family members?
I mean, people keep buying ATVs, tempting people to come and rob them.
Yeah.
Bastards.
Putting an ATV on your property is basically inviting criminals to come and steal that ATV.
Yeah.
But if you have like a criminal come on your property and you have to like interrupt your life and go through the traumatic event of defending your property and possibly like your life, surely like the Prime Minister of Canada must come out and visit with you and console you. Or no, wait, does he go to the victims or does he go to the criminals?
See, the problem is that where these things happen is in a province that's not part of Canada anymore.
Oh, I keep forgetting that Alberta's not part of Canada.
They happen in the rural center of this country as well.
So
I can attest to that.
Yes, that's a good point, Marty.
Yeah,
coming to
so-
us from the CBC, supporters of rural homeowner accused of shooting. Sorry, go ahead. I'm walking all over you.
No, I'm doing the same thing. I was gonna say, I'm like I just for listeners, like myself, like as a out in rural Ontario, like we've been broken into. Just last week, our neighbor's barn got broken into, and a bunch of stuff was stolen, and like pretty well every farm on our street has been broken into in the last like decade. I don't think there's one that hasn't been. It happens out in rural Ontario just like it is out in rural Alberta and rural everywhere else, it seems. And criminals are targeting us because there is no police presence out here.
So the thing that I disagree with the individual that organized the rally in Alberta, they're looking for changes to allow rural homeowners and landowners to be their own trained first response. And I think that is absolutely a brilliant idea, and they should definitely be allowed to do that, as should every other Canadian.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because I hate to break it to everybody, despite living in call it an urban center, I live in a small town. I don't actually have a lot of police officers here, and I certainly don't have one sitting in front of my house protecting me. I do, however, have a whole room full of guns and ammunition that I would be more than happy to use lawfully.
Well, now that you
defend my
said that,
property.
there's going to be a police officer outside your house watching you.
Okay, yeah, okay. So in my particular case, the not having a police officer in front of my house is an exaggeration, because I know they sit in front of my house and watch the place. On the upside, I feel very safe.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's, yeah.
No,
if you live in especially if you live in an area where there are no cops, you should be able to defend yourself. But I mean, we've said it before on the show that the self-defense laws in this country are ass backwards and incredibly lacking.
Okay, but let's say someone breaks into your house to do murder upon you. Like, what's the difference between 10 seconds too late and 20 minutes too late?
Well, that's kind of my point. Is this is why everyone should have the ability to have the tools to defend themselves should they choose to. Because I can't ascertain why someone has broken into my house, whether they want to steal my TV or my ATV or rape my dog and shoot my wife. They're getting shot. Like, if you break into my house, you will get shot. That's how that works. Because I can't ascertain the level of threat that you are, but you've decided to defeat the lock that is there for your own protection.
Nor why should you have to ascertain that? Like, they're obviously not breaking in to ask you directions to the local swap meet.
Well, and that's kind of my point. Like, once you've broken into my property, like, I'm not talking about like criminal trespass. I mean, like, once you've decided to come through the door that was locked, you forfeit your rights at that point. Because I don't know why you're there, but I'm positive that you shouldn't be. And if that's upsetting, maybe stop breaking into people's homes.
Stop invading homes. It's a home invasion.
Yeah, it's pretty easy to not get shot. Stay out of the fuck out of someone else's home. Like,
yeah.
This makes a lot of sense. I wonder why none of us predicted this as part of the gun control measures coming tomorrow.
Because remember, it's not the criminal's fault. They're only stealing ATVs because of systematic racism.
Yeah. And I mean, if somebody dangled an ATV in front of your face every day, Marty, wouldn't you want to steal it too? I mean, you can't.
Well, I mean, you'd practically have to make up for all of their privilege that they have an ATV and you don't.
Yeah, exactly.
I am lacking in ATVs here.
Well, you should go steal one because clearly you don't have one. So they're rubbing it in your face. Yeah.
I have not one. I don't even want an ATV, but I am trying to turn my life around. So maybe I should steal an ATV and turn my life around.
Yes. He could turn around on the ATV.
Like,
do they do that?
Shouldn't the government be giving me
an
ATV at this point?
Probably. I had a thing from Lauren Gunter. I think we're going to skip that. It's in the Toronto Sun. Let's go into Andrew Scheer, the soy boy of conservative politics. Andrew Scheer's gun policies include firearms ombudsman and taking power from the RCMP. This is in the Globe and Mail. The highlights. Oh, God, I can't get back to that. There we go. The highlights. Conservative leader Andrew Scheer says that he wants to create a firearms ombudsman to advocate for gun owners that the RCMP should no longer have the power to reclassify guns. A proposal being dismissed as, quotes, nonsense by country's former top cop. Mr. Scheer's proposals include sweeping pledge to review the criminal code and repeal all federal regulations on gun ownership, usage, and transportation, which do not, quotes, ensure that Canada's firearms laws respect the right of honest firearms owners, recognize the fact that hunting and sport shooting are an important part of Canadian culture and history, and empower police to concentrate on real criminals who are the threat to public safety. Former RCMP Commissioner Bob Paulson said that one of Mr. Scheer's promises, which takes aim at the Mounties for reclassifying guns based on aesthetics, is, quotes, nonsense, and a little bit more nonsense. There are a rabid firearms lobby that has their hooks in the Conservatives, and they're they're aggressive. And the only way that, in my view, the political folks can keep them at bay is to blame the RCMP, says Paulson, retired last year after 32 years as a member of the RCMP. In truth, the elected officials have all the power in the world right now. It's not discretionary call the RCMP make. It's the application of laws those elected officials make. Bullshit.
Is this the Robert Paul? Is this the Bob Paulson? He used to be like the head of the RCMP. Is he the one? This is the guy who
That's the Bob.
In the interview talked about how he would meet his daughter's boyfriends with his gun and pistol still on his hip in his house.
That's the Bob.
That Bob Paulson. Ah, because I thought it was
Bob.
another Bob Paulson. I didn't think it was that Bob Paulson.
No, it was the same Bob Paulson that joked in a media interview, I think on Global News, that he was joking that he would meet his daughter's prospective suitors carrying his big iron as to intimidate them.
Oh,
That's brandishing.
yeah, it is brandishing.
Well, it's different when you're a cop.
But is he was in charge? That's
Allegedly.
when you talk about RCMP, you mean the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, like the National Police
Yes,
Force?
the Queen's Cowboys.
This is the guys. This is the police organization in Canada that took 2 orders of Parliament to destroy the firearms registry. Is this the same RCMP and the
That's
same
the one,
Bob
yeah.
Paulson? Okay.
Those are them.
Hold on. Let me get this. The same one that used that gun registry to go into private citizens' homes and steal their firearms and not give them that same RCMP.
Oh, you're talking about High River when the
Still
RCMP and the Canadian forces removed the populace and then kicked in the doors that weren't even locked. Is that what you're talking about? This is all coming together like some wow.
Is it the same? Is it the same RCMP that, despite the 2 orders to destroy the data, was able to then provide it to Quebec years later? That RCMP?
Same RCMP.
I bet.
Wow.
Huh.
Wow, what a
Andrew,
story
would you
that
like
is.
to make a joke about the RCMP? Because you haven't tried
The same RCMP that changed the classification on the Swiss arms and the CZ858.
No, a different RCMP. No, I'm just fucking with you. Same RCMP.
Oh, I wondered.
Wait, hold on. Is it the same guys that had that 22 that looked like an AK that made it prohib because it looked like an AK despite the fact that not a single part on it was able to be interchanged? That same thing and they're claiming that they've never done that now? That same RCMP?
That's the RCMP.
But is it the
And
same
the claim for that
RCMP that decided to prohibit a magazine for the Ruger 1022 because they said it was designed for the pistol, which came out 30 years later?
Oh yeah. They
Same
it
RCMP.
didn't follow the law the way the law was said. Worded out. Yeah, I think it is the same RCMP, and I think if you were to look into it, I think it's the same RCMP that I lost it.
That left a shotgun on the back of a car and then drove off?
Oh, the same RCMP who lost a grenade launcher off the back of the car.
Oh, the same RCMP that checks our criminal records every morning with a computer program to checks all firearms owners in Canada to make sure they haven't committed a crime, but takes in some cases up to 4 years to update your criminal record.
Whoosh. Oh. Ooh.
Feel safe yet?
I don't know. That one I don't think has a follow-up. Nobody can top that one, Tim. That was the most well-known statement of the podcast, Tim.
That was CBC actually pointed that out. That was an article I was surfing in the background, and there was a judge.
Fucking CBC's got to really get on board with the government propaganda. You can't be pointing that kind of stuff out.
You can't point out that someone was that when a judge runs a CPIC check on someone who's being run through their court, and the CPIC shows up that they're clear, and then they double check with the OPP and find out they've had 8 criminal convictions in the 4 years that the RCMP haven't updated their files.
The problem is that they're looking at too many DPICs to update the CPICs.
They need to iterate to the next letter of the alphabet. I see what the problem is. So yeah.
Okay. Well, do we want to actually talk about Shears?
No, I enjoyed where that went. I think this. Not really. I don't really like Shears. He kind of irritates me, but this was a fun conversation instead.
Yeah.
At least we know what we're talking about.
I guess so. To Marty's point, I think the important takeaway is the the ombudsman and taking the power away from the Queen's cowboys.
Yeah. I mean, we've said it before, but just in case, in no democratic country is it ever okay for the people that enforce the laws to make the laws. Because, like, can you imagine if, like, the regular police all of a sudden, like, were like, shit, we're low on our quota this month. Red cars are illegal. Because that's what's happening.
Redheads are illegal.
Yeah, well, that's well, always so ornery.
Have you seen a ginger?
Better turn him in.
Yes.
So the other point in the article that I wanted to get to was specifically about the RCMP making up decisions about reclassifying guns. The claim by Polson that it's nonsense that the RCMP has ever banned guns based on their aesthetics. We have the paperwork from 1994 when they were proposing the Firearms Act that went into effect in 1995, where the RCMP, in concert with the Coalition for Gun Control, literally highlighted guns and ammo mag to pick out the scary guns, and they became the guns that are prohibited through orders in council.
Yeah. They would write, I'm scared. SCURRED on the pages that they had that. It really, all you got to do is look at the Smith & Wesson MMP 22. Holy shit. I think the buttstock is exchangeable with an AR-15, but the weapon is the firearm is still.
It's got that shoulder thing that goes up.
Oh
so
my god!
Dangerous.
Don't even say that, Gavin. I got kids.
Marty, did you have anything else for the story?
No, not really.
Okay, good. Let's move right along then. Ragnarok Tactical is proud to be a dealer of the Mantis X shooting performance system. And we expect to have actually, I should update the show notes. We've already shipped our initial orders, but I got a couple left. The remaining units will be at TACOM. And if we sell it at units at TACOM, you can maybe play with my demo piece. That might be a double entendre. Pricing for the Mantis X is $199.99. This is lower than any other authorized Canadian dealer. And $10 flat rate shipping always applies. Also, it was pointed out to me recently that some people don't know that Ragnarok Tactical primarily focuses our retail sales on improved first aid kit components. So if you need to get you a tourniquet or a bandage or a pressure dressing or hemostatic gauze or a chest seal, maybe visit shop.ragnaroktactical.ca and buy yourself some stuff to make an improved first aid kit. Because it sucks to get shot, but it'll suck less if you don't bleed out and die.
Yeah.
Do you, while I'm ordering there, do you also sell feminine hygiene products?
No.
The 8th annual Canadian Firearms Podcast Charity Shoot will be held this year, July 5th to the 7th, in support of the Dalhousie Regional High School Breakfast Program. We've talked about this ad nauseum. Furlachi Handgun Class, Maple Seed, Charity Shoot, 3 days. You can find me inebriated as soon as the guns are put away every day.
Also, make sure when you attend the event, any photos that you take or anything that you post relating to this, you use the hashtag Clown Dicks Out for Trevor.
Oh, I hope Trevor's still listening. I know he was at the top of the program.
I'm sure I'll get a message shortly if he is.
All right, let's get into rapid fire feedback. I have no iTunes. I have no emails, but I did get a cassette in the mail.
Oh, good Lord.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Dear sir, my name is Earl, and this cassette is in response to your request for feedback for your internet radio show. I was listening to your show the other day while my great-grandson was taking...
Andrew, I think you're muted.
Stop it.
Oh no! If I
Well, I
vote
have
me,
to tell you, me and
stop. If I mute me,
when
so
you
that
mute.
you can't hear me laughing, You can't hear the oh.
Yeah.
Like, is this just me or is this?
I totally thought that was just Earl not knowing how to use his equipment.
Well,
In that case, I apologize, and I would like to try again. And I will try and laugh quietly to myself in the corner.
You know how,
mic over the side.
you know how you like cough into your elbow? Just laugh into it as well.
Andrew, on just mute it on
Dear
voice
sir,
meter.
my name is Earl, and this cassette is in response to your request for feedback for your internet radio show. I was listening to your show the other day while my great-grandson was taking me into town so I could get my boots resoled and buy a new tube for the radio. Stop it. I hear in the news that Kathleen Wynne fella said something stupid again. He was talking to some students at the university and told them they'd better get to voting, or only old white people would do the vote. Stop it. Well, I have to tell you, me and a lot of my friends are old white people, and we've been working in building Canada for more decades than I care to recall. Why, if it wasn't for people like Angus, Sven, and I working up at the lumber camp, just think how much less wood there would be to build houses and furniture with. Hell, I'm beginning to think Kathleen Wynne doesn't much care about wood. Stop it. And another thing, that fella doesn't look too strong or handsome. And in my mind, he's lucky to have found himself a wife. And every time I sees him on the television, I always wonder why no one has killed him for the ivory. Anyway, my impression is that Kathleen Wynne doesn't pay as much attention to hard-working Canadians and focuses too much on cunning linguists. Stop it. Some people are still going to vote for Kathleen Wynne, and in my day we would have just tarred and feathered them. But you're all too soft. I said Canada was going soft back in the 30s when J.D. Millar started painting white center lines on the highways. Before then, if you were stupid enough to cross the center of the road, you'd just die in a fiery crash. A good riddance to you. Now, if you'll excuse me, my stewed prunes are kicking in. Stop it.
Amazing cassette from Earl, as always. I particularly enjoyed the cunning linguist joke. That was.
I don't think that was a joke. I don't think that was a joke.
Yeah.
I think he was quite serious. I don't think Earl has much of a sense of humor at all. He's a very, very serious man.
Astute man at that.
Yes. Oh, that was good.
That was pretty good.
Oh. I've missed Earl. We should try and get him on the show one time.
I mean, does he have the internet? I mean, as far as
I bet his
he's just
great
getting
grandson.
recordings.
Yeah, I'm sure we could make it happen. Like, we'd probably have to go find him down at the Legion Hall or something and use a phone or whatever to do it. But we could probably get him on at some point.
Yeah. If he's not busting up some cake eaters at the local Union Hall.
Well, I mean, him and Sven need to keep busy somehow, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's important. It's important to stay in shape at that age.
Yeah, you gotta keep breaking axe handles at the Union Hall to stay young.
Yeah.
Good times. Was there? No, I think that's everything. Let's find out where we can find people on the internet. Andrew, where can everybody find you?
You can find me at betterandrew.biz or andar.ca.
I still feel somewhat uncomfortable about this.
I get over 10 requests a day at that website.
Lies. Gavin, where can everybody find you?
The best place you can find me is on the Instagram at Urbex_GTA. You can also find me doing some some t-shirt designs, not to compete with Tim's Good Tees, but slightly different stuff, but Guerrilla Works. So big shout out to Ben, our first customer.
Is that Gorilla like Harambe or Gorilla like Shay?
Like Shay, but so not like Shay because we're capitalists. We make money.
Oh, I see where he went wrong. Marty, where can everybody find the show?
Where? CanadianPatriotPodcast.com, Facebook, feedback. So you can send us feedback at CanadianPatriotPodcast.com/feedback or email us at feedback@CanadianPatriotPodcast.com.
Or if anyone else wants to send us a cassette tape, they can too.
Yeah, I have your great grandson. Yeah, contact Andrew.
If you want your great grandson to send us a cassette, let me know and I will provide you with a mailing address. Tim, where can everybody find you?
Find me at facebook.com/Tim'sGoodT-shirts.
As always, my name is Andrew. You can find me at RagnarokTactical.ca. Buy some bandages, take a shooting course, steal some valor. No, wait, not the last thing. Don't do that. We're going to be at TAC on March 24 and 25. Come out, say hello. If you bribe me with enough money, perhaps I'll share my Arrowhead coffee with you, but probably not because I seriously need a lot of coffee these days. Right. I have to apologize to Rod Giltaca. I'm sorry we couldn't fit him into the show this evening. We had a lot of gun stuff to cover. I know that's not exactly his forte, so I'm sorry we had to bump him. And for all of our listeners out there in podcast land, I would like to remind you that you are the true North, strong and free.